What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Shuggy from Shook Earth Media, and today we are back with The Walking Dead final season. This is episode 20. I think we have yet again another great episode. Some of the better action scenes that we've had this whole season, I think. And just a lot of plot lines converging and a cliffhanger ending that's crazy. All of our people are kidnapped. We're on our way, on a prisoner bus somewhere. And of course, a huge death in this episode, but we'll get to that when we get to it. I'm really into the story right now. I almost forgot I had to make a video about it. I'm just enjoying it as a fan. So this is really great. I got a new hoodie, guys, for The Walking Dead to commemorate the final season. You got to. So back into this episode, let's just break it down like we always do. So this is another thumbs up for me. I think these final run of episodes has been stellar, and I'm really excited about it. So this is a Carol and Daryl focused episode, but especially on Carol. So we have the opening montage thing with Carol, of course. And yeah, you guys know I would rather do without these, to be honest, but we already talked about that, so we're just going to keep moving on. So after the voiceover montage, we cut to Carol in the bakery. She's presumably collecting food for the road, and the brief scene with Ezekiel, he stops by, and I like her line about it. Didn't we already say our goodbyes? That was a nice line. And then we jump straight into the action scenes because we're pretty much picking up right where we left off last episode with Rosita getting kidnapped, and that's of course all happening at the same time. Turns out I predicted last week that Lance was involved in this, and no, it's just Pamela deciding that our people need to go. And I don't know what her plan is, but putting everybody in a bus and driving them with bags on their head and sedating them seems really shady. Seems like mass execution type of stuff. So of course they can't take a risk. We've been with these characters how long? They're not like they can't assume that this is going to work out for them in the legal system because they did nothing wrong. They have to fight back. And I don't know what it is about these scenes here, but the scenes are so good because it just feels like a real survivor situation. Like, she's running away and she's throwing things in her way to slow them down. And I love this shot here with the camera mounted on this thing with wheels on it. These action scenes, it's like back to basics in the Walking Dead universe, but on a bigger scale. And it's like small grounded scenes, and they're grittier. It feels nasty. It's a lot of close-ups. The action scenes in this, particularly the first half of this episode, were some of the best in this season and maybe in the show in a while. So I really it's just the simplicity of it. Really just going back to, it's not, oh, everybody's dying in one shot. It's like we're really closing in on this one particular nasty thing. So I like the directing choices in this episode. So we start off with that action scene, off to a great start. And I just want to point out at the title scene here that somebody pointed out to me that this logo here, throughout these last few episodes, they've been adding more and more blood to this logo here. So we have blood on the A, blood on the G, on the I and the N. There's some kind of messaging going on here. If anybody has any theories, would love to hear it. But that's just something that I've noticed. And then we are right back in with Carol. And I like that we're sneaking through the Commonwealth. Part of me thought we would have, like, sneaking around the Commonwealth scenes in almost every episode, and it's a little bit hard to buy those scenes because of how resourceful the Commonwealth is, how many people there are, and stuff like that. So, and they do really good job with this scene, just getting you to sense, how risky it is. So Carol's running to meet Daryl, and then we cut straight into Daryl's fight. And I like that we pick up in the middle of Daryl's fight. One guy's already dead. And this is a perfect example of what I was saying, like the close-ups. And we just start with this scene where he's choking him out, and Daryl's like in survival mode. These are the last desperate things he has to do because he's basically lost this fight at this point. So, and you really feel it. Like, it gets nasty. Daryl's digging into his eyes and stuff like that. So these scenes, like, it feels, it's like this is The Walking Dead, you know what I mean? So I like these scenes, and then of course the guy comes back as a zombie, and that is what finishes off the other guy. He gets bit, and then we're here with Pamela, And I'm loving Pamela in these episodes again. She's like, the performance is amazing, and you get to see things from her perspective a bit. And then Yumiko runs into the room during this meeting, and she's already very heated, understandably, because of everybody getting kidnapped. But she comes in and punches the officer, like, immediately. I thought it was a bit over the top, if I'm being honest, because, that's a lawyer. She knows what the laws are, right? Breaking the law, it wasn't the smart play. So, the punch, to me, it's a bit over the top. I don't think they needed it. The just coming in with that energy would have made her want to leave that meeting anyway. So I think the punch was a bit much. But I like the deal that Pamela pitches. The deal is for Yumiko to play the prosecutor in Eugene's upcoming trial, and Pamela, of course, wants to deflect responsibility for anything that happens. She doesn't want to be criticized as being corrupt. So to get Yumiko to play along with this, she threatens the brother, Yumiko's brother, and also the rest of her friends and everybody we know. So it's a good scene. Yes, you can see right at the end there how proud Pamela is of herself at that it went exactly how she wanted it to. And then I like this scene right here. It's a simple scene, but Daryl and Carol, and scenes like this are making me really think they could carry their own spinoff, so especially how the episode ends. We'll get to that, obviously. But Daryl brings up a good question about should they find Mercer, and they're questioning whether or not he would turn them in or not. And that's that's pretty much the biggest downside of this episode is, where's Mercer? I'm just like, this whole episode I'm looking for Mercer. There's like a big press release thing at the end of the episode. Mercer should be there. He's been there for like all those scenes previously, so it just felt weird. But I know they segment these episodes so that they can film them at the same time. So it's probably just a scheduling thing. But his absence is felt. But I like this scene where they set up the plan to go after Lance, of course. And then we got Yumiko with her brother, basically getting her brother's permission or his opinion on whether or not she should take the deal. And he's, basically just explaining that it's a survival thing. They have to do it. It's not really a choice situation. So, and here we start, it's kind of a B-plot, subplot of the episode, that there is the guy who attacked Connie is getting treated in the other room because she stabbed him in the leg, and she's going to follow him, and then Yumiko basically agrees to do it instead, which to me is like a bad idea, because Yumiko, you would presume, given the deal with Pamela and how and everything going on and just how authoritarian things are becoming, you would assume that she's being trailed as well, or at least monitored, when she enters and exits the hospital and stuff. So it's not the greatest idea, but I also, Connie's being looked for as well. So I love the drama scenes with the sign language. It's really, it's cool. And it also makes sense because, they can't make any noise, in the next room. There's somebody that they don't want to hear them. So I like how the emotions still come through 100% with, the extended dialogue scene here. It's really cool. I like the subplot and the dilemma. It just, by the end of it, it doesn't, spoiler alert, it doesn't work out. So it does kind of feel like a dead end, but I do like the scene. It adds a bit more tension to things. It gives Yumiko a choice, and it makes her fail before she succeeds later, I'm guessing, maybe. So a lot of times you want to set up, if she's about to succeed at her next plan, you want to have some failures in there. You don't want her to just be successful all the time. And then we get the breakout scene with Daryl and Carol. They tackle the guards and knock them out and stuff. And here we have a horrific scene with Lance. And at the end of the last episode, Pamela, based on the coin flip, let him live. And left a blade in there, and then she said, "Feed my son." And I guess that means chop up your colleague's body and feed it to my zombie zombified son here. So very horrific scene. And again, like with just the visuals on this episode, the gritty, gross, like this is Walking Dead crystallized. So that's what I've been saying about these. Well, this isn't an action scene, but you guys get what I'm saying. And I love how Lance is just out of it. I don't know if he's faking it just to like, cause he knows what's going on outside. Maybe he's. I think he's not faking it. It probably would be a traumatizing thing. He's in solitary confinement for hours on end, just with a zombie. Well, I guess it's not solitary after all, now is it? So I like this scene here. You know, the good cop, bad cop, with Daryl being the bad cop and Carol being the good cop. And they get Lance to play along with their search for their friends, of course. So I don't know how Lance would know at this point, but he probably can just presume. So Carol and Lance escape the prison, and Daryl kind of distracts the guards to let them get away. So it's ambiguous about what happened to him after that for the rest of the episode until the end. And here we got the scene we already talked about, but I did like the way they shot it. And of course, it's a near miss. She gets recognized by the guy that she's following, so she leaves. And next we got Pamela talking to her new secretary, and I didn't mention earlier, but I like how she called her Max. But of course, that's somebody different. But I like seeing things from her perspective. And she's talking about an upcoming announcement, and of course, which we see later in the episode. But she's like, I want a police presence there, but I don't want to be seen as a police state. So, you know, just getting in deeper into the mind of the politician here. So, yeah, I love what they're doing with Pamela. I mean, the performance is incredible. And here she finds out about the escape, but of course she cares most about the zombified version of her son. And absolutely horrific. So, you know, some really awesome, like the gore has been great these past few episodes, so always appreciate that. So here we got a scene with Lance trying to turn on the charm again. And on one hand, it felt a little too quick because he was just like in his own insane world back there. But unless he was faking it back there, which is possible, but I don't think so. I think it seemed genuine. But that aside, I like the scene, you know, he's trying to basically get Carol to go out on her own. He's trying to convince her that, you know, it doesn't matter what happens to Daryl in a way. So, you know, he's basically turning Carol even further against him while thinking he's doing the opposite. So one thing I forgot to mention earlier that I'm editing in is that one of the themes in this conversation here, and several times throughout the episode, is Lance framing the Commonwealth as something worth saving. You know, he's telling Carol, you have 50,000 lives in your hands, and will you let the Commonwealth burn down just to save your family and stuff? And this is a similar theme to what we got at the end of the comic book. It's not going to happen in the show exactly like this because Rick's not in the show. Rick was interested in preserving the Commonwealth and society and stuff, you know, continuing the end of the arc, keeping Negan alive to preserve society and everything. Rick continues that with the Commonwealth. So I think setting up that dilemma, I think it will tie into the end. I think we are going to get a moment like the Rick and Dwight moment in the comics, if you know what I'm talking about. I think that's going to happen. We're framing that up here, so that's starting in this scene right here. And here we got Yumiko basically getting Eugene's permission to prosecute him, basically. And again, I mean, the scene is great. Acting is great. The acting in the show is always like 10 out of 10. I don't like say that enough, but the acting is always like on point. I know I don't think I've ever really mentioned it. Maybe some of the spin-offs, but you know, in the main show, it's always great. But with this scene, I just feel like Yumiko wouldn't, again, she's being monitored, presumably being followed, maybe. At least like they're watching her on CCTV and keeping track of her movements. I don't think they would let her visit. I mean, there's a guard watching her right now. I don't think that they would let her, the prosecutor, in to see him. I mean, that's like, I mean, unless it's like an official thing where they're offering a plea deal or something. And that's what I was thinking in this scene as well. It's like, why not offer a plea deal? It's like, okay, you plead to a manslaughter charge. And because, you know, you just say it was an accident, I didn't mean to do it. It's like the zombie, we just needed to get him away from us, and it went over to him. Totally didn't mean for that to happen. But, it did result from, the death did result from my actions. So I will take a fall for manslaughter, like plead guilty to a lesser charge. That's the solution to me. Like, and if she's the prosecutor, she would get to decide that. You get to bring the case, and then the judge or the jury decides, depending on what the laws are of the Commonwealth, we don't really know. So, anyways, case in point, I feel like there are other solutions to this. So but they don't talk about the opportunity that they could have being the prosecutor and whatnot. But I like the emotions of the scene. But I just get lost in the logic of things. But you guys know that's kind of what I do on this channel. So, so yeah, it's a great scene. All in all, I can look past the logic thing. But here we are back with Lance and Carol. And we go through like another underground tunnel thing. We've had a lot of these this season, but each one has felt they've shot them differently, I think. So it really works. And I like how grungy this scene is. Again, back to basics, except this is the biggest action scene in the episode. And I like the subplot where, Carol loses her flashlight. And there seems to be too many of them, so she has to resort to gunfire. Really gross skin. It's awesome. You love to see it. Here's a perfect example. Usually, I'm always complaining about coincidences and people showing up at the exact right time for things. Here's a situation where they do that, and you might watch this episode. If you've watched a lot of my reviews, you might be like, oh, he's definitely going to criticize this part. No, okay, they set it up in this part because Carol, with the gunfire, they heard that. They know where she is. Daryl, same thing with him. So, of course, everybody's going to converge right here. It actually makes perfect sense. And this is a coincidence I can buy. It's not even really a coincidence. So, there you go. I just want to show you they can do it right sometimes. So, I like Daryl's hiding, and he waits for the exact right time. And here we got Yumiko's big speech where she's supposed to announce the prosecution. But plot twist, she doesn't, which, to the audience is not terribly surprising. It'd be although given how they set up every scene before this has been her talking about how she's going to do it. Of course, she announces that she's going to defend Eugene instead. At one point, she asks her brother, the doctor, to stand up, and he gets like a standing ovation. And at first, my reaction was like his. He's like, what do I have to do with this? Like, don't mention me. But it makes perfect sense with what comes right after it when she's saying that she's going to defend Eugene. She's using that as leverage to the community in the same way Pamela's using that as leverage to her. She's basically saying, hey, I'm doing this thing, and if something happens to my brother, there's a connection there. She's pointing out the corruption. So she's kind of playing Pamela's game and knowing what she can get away with. So I'm excited to see where this storyline goes. I like that we have her standing up to Pamela in a way. I just feel like it could backfire on her in a lot of ways as well. So, and here we have a phenomenal scene. This might be the best scene in the episode. We've been waiting for this for a while. I will admit Lance lasted longer than I thought he would. I told you guys in my prediction video, I was like, probably by episode 2 he's gone. But we had him in the prison cell. And now at this point, he's outlived his usefulness to Daryl and Carol. He's led them to what is apparently a working train. So I love this scene here where Lance is just not refusing to accept that he's done for. But Carol and Daryl, because they are still good people at the end of the day, they're like, we'll give you a chance. You can run away. But of course, I just knew Lance was going to do something stupid. And he walks past the truck where he knows the machine gun is, and Carol shoots an arrow at him just in time. And I think it was a very dramatic conclusion. I love the visual of the arrow through the neck. Awesome. Of course, in the back of my mind, I'm like, shouldn't you have had the gun on you instead and used that? He could have shot the gun still at this point. There's all these, you know, I can accept it though because of the drama of the scene. The visual is great, so you know, I could put logic to the side yet again. But I think it's a fitting end for the character, and I love that it was Daryl and Carol that did it. Daryl, everything he had to say, you love it. How he was like giving you a second chance is better than you deserve, and all that. You love to see it. So it was a great death for a great villain that I really liked. And yeah, and then we got this final scene with the bus, and everybody's got the bags on the heads, and they're getting injected with a sedative, presumably. So I don't know why we need the bags on the heads. I guess just to keep the secret of where the location is. I don't know. It seems a bit excessive, but the drama, the visual, it's like the heightened stakes here. Everybody that we care about is getting shipped to somewhere mysterious, and we're thinking back to Terminus, and like everybody's just gonna die next episode. The drama is there. I love it, and this shot right here, we kind of zoom in to see Ezekiel. Love the idea. Execution was a little mixed, but ultimately I like the shot, and it's gonna be an interesting episode next week. So I will admit I thought we might get a reveal of the CRM or something, Lance's potential connection with them. Of course, we've gotten hints throughout this whole season that people are disappearing from the Commonwealth. That fed into the Rebellion storyline and everything like that. People are just disappearing out of nowhere. So I'm assuming Lance is shipping them off to CRM somewhere. I almost forgot. I think I forgot to say that in my prediction video, but that's been my assumption. So I thought we were going to get that reveal this week. We didn't. So Lance died with his secrets. If he was working with the CRM, he died, and he's gone. I don't know if that means that Pamela doesn't know about it either, because he was doing things on his own at that point. He told Pamela, there are things that you don't know, communities I'm dealing with that you don't know. So he might have taken the CRM secrets to his grave, which I'm curious to see if we're ever going to find that out. So I'm assuming that there's going to be some trace of it, so we're going to get that storyline at some point. But yeah, I was wrong that it wasn't this episode. We didn't go to Oceanside. I thought we would get Oceanside. We've been really holding off on that Oceanside reveal. So I think that Oceanside might be the reveal with the CRM. Like, okay, they disappeared in the same way people are disappearing from the Commonwealth. Here's a trace of where they might be. What if they find the PPP card thing? That would be crazy. But there's going to be some hint of where they went, and maybe that's where we'll find out what Lance is doing, shipping people off somewhere. But I'm assuming this bus situation is not the same thing, because Pamela doesn't know about these other outside groups. So they're just going to some secret prison, or we heard mention of a project where they're basically colonizing. They're doing like prison colonies is what I'm guessing. So I'm really curious what's going to happen with this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I think I rambled about this. I could probably do another video speculating on next week. But let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your opinion in the comment section down below. Hit me with the sub if you want to see more reviews, and the like and all that. It really helps with the algorithm and whatnot. And I hope to see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching, everybody. Peace out.